Good morning, everyone. Okay, so we have one more test paper first. This time we have more number of questions. I think there are some 45 questions in this paper. So I'm going to give you some 50 minutes, not half an hour, 50 minutes maybe. And then we will discuss these questions. Few things from the previous session. I know that in the video description, the question paper still is not uploaded. I will get it uploaded by today. And also I will get the today's question paper uploaded in today's video. But meanwhile, I'm also going to show these questions. So those who are watching it right now live, or maybe will watch it later. And even if you do not find the question paper in the video description, you still can see on the screen. So I'm going to get this question paper on the screen. So I think there are 46 questions in this paper. And I will give you 50 minutes to attempt them. The goal here is again that with help of these questions, I'm going to talk about these themes in detail, and I expect you to know more about these themes by yourself also. In fact, that is the ultimate goal. It is not only about what I'm going to discuss here, but it is about what you do about these topics in more detail. One more thing, the questions today are more difficult, and that is a very deliberate choice. I don't think UPSC will ask such difficult questions the way I have framed. But one of the reason I have made this paper difficult, because I wanted you to know about few things. And even if, let's say, for example, a small part of that question is being asked by UPSC, that can also be greatly helpful. So I've tried to add lot of things without making the theme incoherent, but I have tried to add a lot of things into just one question wherever it was possible. And the goal here was to cover more and more topics with respect to these questions. Okay, so this is an important theme. So I will tell you what are the topics in this paper. So the questions are from computing technologies, communication technologies. Then the questions are from defense technology. The questions are from nanotechnology and material science. And the questions are from some of the advancements in scientific research in India as well as across the world. Okay, so a lot of topics are there, like 4 or 5 topics are there, right? And you'll have some 45, 46 questions. So I will give you some time, attempt this paper, and after 50 minutes, I'm going to discuss all of these questions and all of these themes in more detail. I'm also going to ask our staff to keep changing this page number, right, from time to time, so that those who are watching it live and do not have this question paper in the description can attempt it simultaneously. Okay, I will see you guys in 50 minutes. I will give you 50 minutes. I will see you at exactly 12 o'clock. Okay. Okay, time's up. Right. So again, I repeat that those who will watch this lecture later, maybe I will ensure that by end of day, this question paper is in the description of our YouTube video, as well as for the previous session. Okay, you must have felt that this was more of a difficult paper and many factual questions also were there. So that was a deliberate decision. I mentioned that in the starting of the session itself. This was a deliberate decision. The actual questions asked by UPSC will be simpler than this. I wanted to include few more than one concepts in some cases in one question, and that is why I made this provision. Okay, so if you, for example, get 50% in this, you are in a very good position already, because this was, I felt that this was not an easy paper at all. Okay, so anyone who attempted more than 90% of the questions, more than 40 questions. Any of you? Good, amazing. Let's see how many of you got how many correct. Let's start our discussion. So there are a lot of questions on AI itself in the starting itself. A lot of questions on AI itself. Let's discuss both question number 1 and 2 together, because they both have similar theme. The theme is about regulation of artificial intelligence. Okay. So in fact, let me first discuss that question number 2. I will come to the question number 1 in a second. Consider the following statements about deepfakes and AI generated content. We all know what deepfakes are. Deepfakes are synthetic media generated using deep learning techniques. That is true. So this is one of the application of AI. Deep learning is a type of sub-branch within artificial intelligence. Under amendment, so I have added this word because I did not want any confusion. In your question, it might not be the word. Amendment word है? नहीं है, बट कोई बात नहीं, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अगर ये वर्ड मैंने जानबूझ के इसलिए डाला है कि somebody will say कि नहीं सर, ओरिजिनल रूल में तो नहीं था. So the reason why this statement is there, what do you think, is that correct or wrong? 2 से 3 घंटे है. That was the reason why I asked this. So original was 36 hours. So one of the reason why I have put this statement, if Feb का न्यूज़ है, Feb Jan का न्यूज़ है और Feb से implement हो गया है. So as of now, this rule has been implemented, that if somebody does complain, then that deepfake content must be removed within 2 to 3 hours. So right now it is 2 to 3 hours, not 36 hours. That second statement is not correct. Third statement does not make any sense. ये कहना कि कोई हमारे पास standard software नहीं है to detect AI generated synthetic media, that is of course not correct. Answer here is only one. Right? A is the correct answer. Now, even though that second statement in this case, that there is this rule, but that rule is with respect to deepfake. Overall, if we look at regulating AI, we do not have a dedicated legislation for that. And that is why in the question number 1, both of them are correct, but of course, statement 1 and statement 2, there is no causal relationship between them. So answer is B here. So just in case if you think that answer is C, no, here answer will be B. That first is correct. In fact, that in itself is an important news, that there is a dedicated law in European Union, and I can show you a slide here. So there is a dedicated law simply called AI Act passed by European Parliament, and it recognizes risk posed by AI into 4 categories with examples. And then you have this unacceptable risk where if a company is found to be involved in such type of practices, there's one of that practice will be social scoring, what China does. In China, social scoring is a thing that with help of AI enabled cameras and all of that, they look at the behavior of people, that what type of citizen you are. Are you throwing trash in the dustbin or not? And based on that, they can assign a social score to you, that how good of a citizen you are. But such type of social scoring done by private companies, that will be an unacceptable risk. And the fine will be very, very high in such cases. Minimal risk will be you are using AI for spam filter. That आपका मेल है, आप filter कर रहे हो. That will be minimal risk. So ये खुद में एक मेरे हिसाब से एक important part है. We should know that there is a dedicated law in Europe regarding regulation of artificial intelligence. But you do not have such dedicated law with respect to AI, overall AI governance in India as of now. India has been in a way more optimistic about artificial intelligence, that it can help us in many ways. जो भी AI का misuse possibility है, that can be covered under our IT Act. The Information Technology Act है, that can be just, for example, deepfake is one of that misuse. That can be covered under IT Act. But a dedicated law for only regulating AI, that does not, we do not have that. So answer here is B, that both are correct, but statement 1 and 2 are not related per se. Okay, this is another development in artificial intelligence. This is called agentic AI or autonomous AI. I would not have given this word also, even then this question would have been exactly the same. But I wanted to give a hint by using this word autonomous AI. That agentic AI refers to AI systems capable of autonomously planning and executing multi-step tasks. That is the very definition of agentic AI, compared to traditional LLMs, for example, which we use. So in that we have to write a prompt, and based on that prompt, an LLM is going to respond. So that first statement, that is true. They are inherently more reliable than traditional AI modes because they operate autonomously. That of course does not make again any sense. That agentic AI, just say, think of agentic AI. Agentic AI can be as simple as a chatbot talking to you, that you are calling some company and unka jo customer care representative hai, I'm very sure that all of you now know that you are talking to some AI chatbot. So that chatbot is taking autonomous decision based on your complaint. It can be as simple as that, or it can be as sophisticated as, I don't know if you, आपको क्यों ही use करना, आप क्यों ही करोगे, but if you know about Claude Cowork, right? So as of now, one of the best LLM is Claude, developed by Anthropic. Little bit background here. OpenAI is a company which makes ChatGPT, right? OpenAI के जो कुछ लोग थे, उनमें जो CEO हैं सैम ऑल्टमैन थे, तो कुछ लोगों को फायर कर दिया गया. Some people challenged his authority or in a way his leadership, that जो हमारा vision था and जिस तरीके से ChatGPT develop हो रहा है, they're diverging. So they wanted Sam Altman to leave, but Sam Altman did not. Those people left. But those people, at that point of time, you thought that Sam Altman has emerged the hero of that story. No, because those people have now started, some of those people started Anthropic. And as of now, Anthropic is the biggest competitor to ChatGPT. And in fact, they have better. I use Anthropic, I use Claude, and I can guarantee you that Claude is better than ChatGPT. It was a tough decision for me to transition from ChatGPT to Claude, but I have done that, right? So, but Claude का जो co-work है, that will be an example of agentic AI, right? आपने कुछ task जो भी है, आपके absence में वो आपका task complete कर रहा है. So agentic AI is this autonomous AI, but Claude in itself is not an example of agentic AI. Claude in itself is an example of traditional AI that you write prompt, and based on that prompt, it is going to give you answers. So second is not correct. Inherently more reliable, that does not make sense. It can be used for tools like browsing, code execution, API calls. That is correct. That part is correct. Answer is 1 and 3 only. C is the correct answer. No, why would you rely that? In fact, you should not rely upon any type of AI for anything. So that is why we talk about the concept of human in the loop. There is a very important keyword, जैसे prelims में तो मान लो नहीं भी आए, but as a keyword आप mains में अगर AI पे लिखते हो, या AI पे dedicated question आता है, तो एक point आपका होगा ही होगा. You'll write about human in the loop. That for critical decision making. जैसे मान लो legal decision है, medical decision है, बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं. For critical decision making, that human in the loop is important. So no, you cannot inherently rely more upon agentic AI just because they are doing work autonomously. In fact, I can do a counter argument that AI will lack empathy in many situations. AI will not be able to take the correct decision. A human being would have taken a different decision, right? So that is why second statement hai, that is not correct. Inherently, it becomes reliable just because it is working autonomously. That a blanket statement like that, I will not consider that to be correct. Question 4. Now this is one of the questions where you go into little bit more technicality. I frankly do not expect UPSC to go into this technicality, but even knowing some of the words separately जैसे इन तीनों पे मैं सेपरेटली 3 टाइप का क्वेश्चन आई कैन इमेजिन टू बी आस्क्ड बाय यूपीएससी रादर देन ऑल 3 ऑफ देम combined into one question. So LLMs are trained on vast data set, that is true. Text predict the next token in a sequence. So one of the word I wanted to emphasize upon with help of this question is the idea of tokenization which LLMs use, large language models use. That when you write a prompt, they do not read the complete text together. They read this as in form of tokens. One token will be some 0.7 word, ऐसे समझ लो आप. And then based on your prompt, they have to make that best prediction. And finally, when they write the prompt, they do de-tokenization. Right? So they read your prompt as a token, they create their own token based on your prompt, and then they do de-tokenization, human readable form, जो English या Hindi जो भी language है आप पढ़ रहे हो, and you get your response. So first is true. Second is also true. The diffusion models जो हैं, they are used in image generation, video generation. So I will tell you 2 tools at least here we should know, DALL-E and Sora. So DALL-E and Sora, these will be examples of use of diffusion model to generate images and videos. And hallucination, this is also true, that hallucination happens, lot of LLMs hallucinate. So LLMs का जो hallucination उसका simple सा कारण है, that why do they hallucinate? They will give you some answer with very high confidence. बहुत confident answer होगा वो तो गलत answer होगा. तो उसका कारण ये है that they are designed in a way. And जहाँ पे भी मान लो information missing है, that when they do tokenization and when they are predicting the next token, remember they are based on prediction of what is the best next token. So if there is a information missing, they have to add layers of information by themselves. And because they have been designed to sound confident, so even if they are, let's say for example, adding wrong information, they will still write it like, उनका जो response होगा ऐसे लगेगा कि ये बिल्कुल सही response है. So ये जो problem है, ये जो limitation है large language models का, this limitation is called hallucination. So third is true, that hallucination in LM refers to phenomena where the models generate factually incorrect information with apparent confidence. And there is a, I will repeat this, there is a simple reason behind it, that they are best to read tokens and then they are designed to optimize the response, best response. They are not designed to be exact answer what you need. They are designed to optimize their response. And in that optimization, if some information is missing, they will still add wrong information with very high confidence. And this is called hallucination. And that is why we also have to be very careful when we look at the response designed by LLMs. Okay? So here answer is 1, 2, and 3. D is the correct answer. Okay, this is the easiest question in the paper. I initially thought that I should only add this one, Eutelsat OneWeb. But addition of Starlink makes it very obvious that we are talking about satellite-based internet. Why I would want you to read about this one in little bit more detail? That not only it is a competitor to Starlink. Starlink is a program of SpaceX as a company. We know about it. Starlink aims to launch some few thousand satellites into low Earth orbit, which can provide high speed, low latency internet. इतना तो हम सबको पता है. So one of the competitor of Starlink is this program, Eutelsat OneWeb. This is a collaboration among many companies. And one reason why I would want you to know about this, because इनका deal ISRO के साथ है, और इनके जो satellites हैं, these satellites are being launched by ISRO, some of them. And ISRO का जो सबसे heavy rocket है हमारा, LVM-3 rocket, that LVM-3 rocket is being used to launch the satellites of this program, Eutelsat OneWeb. So apart from the fact that this is a satellite-based internet program, you should also know that some of their satellites have been launched by ISRO using LVM-3. So ये एक extra information जो है आप याद रखोगे prelims exam के लिए. So ये सबसे easy question, answer here is D, satellite-based internet. Okay, 6 क्या होगा आंसर? This is a question जो आपको तभी के तभी पढ़ के आंसर करना है. ये क्वेश्चन स्किप करने का स्कोप नहीं है. There are questions which you are supposed to skip. They are factual in nature. You're supposed. ये क्वेश्चन स्किप करने का स्कोप नहीं है. This is a question where you have to apply your logic then and there and get the right answer. And the right answer is C. So बाकी सारी चीजें गलत है यहाँ पे. और बहुत obviously गलत है. Semiconductor fabrication, wafer fabrication already has multiple foundries producing chips at 7 nanometer and below. दुनिया में एक ही कंपनी है जो ये कर सकती है, and that company is located in Netherlands, that is called ASML. So you should know this also. And they use a technique, जो उस पे भी एक क्वेश्चन आ गया है इस पेपर में, that technique is called extreme ultraviolet lithography. So that technique has applications in semiconductor manufacturing, semiconductor fabrication. वो भी एक क्वेश्चन होगा कहीं ना कहीं पे, देखना ये रहा. The term extreme ultraviolet lithography, this is a technique to do semiconductor fabrication, and the machine which is capable of doing this, the machine which is capable of doing extreme ultraviolet lithography, that machine is made by just one company, and that company is called ASML. It is located in Netherlands. You as a company can buy this machine and you can do chip fabrication, chip manufacturing. So most of that is being done in Taiwan. हमारा कैपेबिलिटी 7 नैनोमीटर से कम, बहुत बहुत आगे की बात है. अभी हमारा गोल बिल्कुल ही अलग है. 7 नैनोमीटर चिप बना लेना, ये वन ऑफ द मोस्ट सोफिस्टिकेटेड कैपेबिलिटी होगा, जहाँ पे आप बिल्कुल एआई के फ्रंटियर पे काम कर रहे हो. तो हम इस पूरे इकोसिस्टम में बहुत पीछे हैं अभी. वी आर ट्राइंग टू एंटर इनटू इट. समबडी हैड डिड आस्क समथिंग. कोई कुछ पूछ रहा था यहाँ पे? सो एनीवेज, यहाँ पे जैसे आंसर होगा दैट विल बी सेमीकंडक्टर फैब्रिकेशन. ठीक है, ए इज द करेक्ट आंसर. And I would also repeat this, that ASML is the only company which makes the machine capable of extreme ultraviolet lithography. And इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है ये C है. So this is not true. India is the world largest producer of silicon wafers. Not at all. आसपास भी नहीं है. Forget about largest. So कोई comparison भी नहीं है. And equipment manufacturing, again, as I told you that no, this is being done by some monopolistic companies. So this is the best option here, that we are not talking about manufacturing, we are talking about designing. And when you look at the design part, you realize that across the world, whatever chip design is happening, about 20% of that workforce, they are Indian origin, right? So answer here is that approximately 20% of the world's chip design engineers are Indian. This is a fact. Right, so this is one of our capability, that we have human resources, even though they might not be in India. In fact, most of them are not in India, but they are Indian origin. And if we develop an ecosystem here, then maybe that will stop our brain drain. तो यहाँ पे जो correct answer है वो C है. Okay, this is another question which is factual, and it's always good to not attempt such question if so many facts are asked in one statement. Here, however, all 3 of them are correct. Okay. हाँ जी, बताइए. India produces photolithography machine. No, it does not. India is trying, what India is trying to do, पहले तो produces versus what India is trying to do. And let's focus upon that part first, that what India is trying to do. एक question मेरे पास वो भी है, the objectives of semiconductor, India semiconductor mission. तो जो 4 चीजें हैं, those 4 things we are trying to do. None of those 4, in fact, let me show you that question. बताइए कौन सा क्वेश्चन नंबर है, बताइएगा जरा. सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन पे क्वेश्चन होगा. यहाँ पे आंसर डी है, that we are trying to do all 4 of this. आप एक काम करना, go to India सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन, पूरा एक मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स IT में एक आपको एक अलग से पेज मिल जाएगा. We are trying to do semiconductor fabrication, display fabrication, जो display panels हम बनाते हैं screens के लिए, mobile screens के लिए, TV के लिए. We are trying to do that. एक होता है, इसको हम बोलते हैं assembly, testing, marking, packaging. बन जाने के बाद जो testing part है, marking part है. Third, and design linked incentive. इसका मतलब ये है that as companies do this more and more in India, more and more incentives, tax incentives, other type of incentives will be there. So if you look at the objectives of this mission, all 4 are part of it. Answer is 1, 2, 3, and 4. None of them are even about making lithographic machine. We do not have this capability. It's always a good idea to be aware of your limitations, current limitations. So we do not have that capability as of now. Okay. Silicon wafer, I think it should be Taiwan. If I have to say, it should be Taiwan. South Korea, to some extent China also, right? Okay, जो ट्रेडिशनल हम कंप्यूटर्स में यूज करते हैं प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट, दिस इज कॉल्ड सेंट्रल प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट और सीपीयू, वी ऑल आर फेमिलियर विथ. CPUs are designed to do multiple things. They can do multiple things, but whatever things they do it at one point of time. So they do one thing, then they go to next, then they go to next. And even though that processing happens very fast. And as a result, in our day-to-day life, this computer may feel like that this is a very fast device. But there are so many problems where CPUs will not work at all. Problems like weather forecasting, analyzing data of 1 million people, climate modeling. There are so many problems where this computer will not be helpful. So this is where GPUs shine. GPUs have applications in supercomputing and AI training, graphic processing unit. They can do what is called parallel processing. They can divide a problem into multiple smaller parts, and they can work on many of those parts simultaneously. Okay. So this is correct, that suited for AI training because they contain thousands of small parallel processing cores. Okay. One of the most remarkable work in AI is happening in a division of Google called DeepMind. And they asked for, and they designed specific chips for the type of work they are doing. Specific chip, and they called it tensor processing unit. And that tensor processing unit, that there are certain type of problems in deep learning which they wanted to further optimize. And they developed this type of new processing called tensor processing unit. So this is also true. ये लग सकता है कि ये बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक स्टेटमेंट है, दैट कस्टम डिजाइन बाय गूगल, बट दिस इज अ करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट. एंड ये भी ट्रू है कि हमारे मोबाइल फोन में बहुत सारी चीजें जिस पे मान लो क्लाउड पे डिपेंडेंस नहीं है, कि कहीं पे कोई डेटा सेंटर हो अमेरिका में और उससे प्रोसेसिंग हो रहा हो तो बहुत ज्यादा हो जाएगा. जैसे एक सिंपल सा मान लो ये डिस्प्ले है कि ये मेरा फेस डिटेक्ट कर सकता है. So simple things like that, जहाँ पे प्रोसेसिंग के लिए that processing happens locally rather than very far away. So for that we use what is called a neural processing unit. So all three of them are correct. Answer here is D. So just knowing the basic meaning of these words, it will be more than enough for prelims examination. Okay, so a larger theme I wanted to discuss here in question number 8 is about the concept of open source LLMs itself rather than examples. Examples तो पता होना चाहिए, but even more so you should know about the definition of open source LLMs. What is the answer here, and what are open source LLM? Who will answer this? Go ahead. Which one? Bhashini, yes. Okay. प्रोप्राइटरी नहीं है. जिस तरीके से हम बात करते हैं ओपन सोर्स सॉफ्टवेयर वर्सेस प्रोप्राइटरी सॉफ्टवेयर की, LLM में भी सेम चीज़ है, that you have proprietary software versus open source LLM versus proprietary LLM. जैसे ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, all of these are examples of proprietary LLM which belongs to a company, and they will not share their source code and training data. That information is not publicly available. But DeepSeek, which by the way was in news a lot last year, that this is some few Chinese scientists, they developed DeepSeek, and they developed that very popular large language model that not only you can see their source code and training data, you can copy it, and you can also आप locally खुद में अगर आप change करना चाहो तो आप change कर सकते हो. That is also possible. So Bhashini is also same. Bhashini क्या है, कौन बताएगा? What is Bhashini? Sorry? Language translator developed by Government of India itself. So जितने भी बहुत सारे जो locally spoken languages हैं, that is available on Bhashini as a portal. So Bhashini का source code जो है वो भी publicly accessible है. So answer here is only 2. A is the correct answer. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude by Anthropic, all three of them, Gemini by Google, ChatGPT by OpenAI, all three of them are examples of proprietary LLM. Okay. In what context? I'm very sure कि तब पढ़ा होगा भी. I will have to read. पढ़ना पड़ेगा. I will have to. क्या था, कुछ याद है कि exactly what was it? Distillation process to train AI for other AI. Okay, because distillation has a very specific meaning in chemistry, but here how this is being used. So I'll have to go and read that, how in AI this term is being used. Okay, this is a question Again, I don't think this is an easy question. Although if you know this, then the answer is that it can be only one answer. What is the answer? Like, what did you think will be the answer? Answer is C. Only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct, and that correct explains statement 1. तो थोड़ा सा background हम discuss कर लेते हैं. UPSC ने quantum computing पे देखो अब तो 2 बार question पूछ लिया. So I do think that they can ask a question on quantum communication. That is another of our missions under National Quantum Mission. ये जो quantum वाले जो भी topics हैं उसका background जो है that is National Quantum Mission. So apart from whatever question is given here, please go and read more about National Quantum Mission and what it tries to do. तो एक उसका objective quantum computing है, दूसरा objective जो है वो quantum communication है. In quantum communication, you try to, so just a brief background first. जैसे traditionally जो हम अपना data encrypt करते हैं, जैसे मान लो WhatsApp पे जो हमारा chat end to end encrypted है, whatever, our credit card data is being encrypted by Amazon and Amazon stores it, or our Aadhaar is encrypted by UIDAI. So traditionally जो encryption algorithm use किया जाता है to hide your data, that relies upon certain mathematical problem which are very difficult to solve. So difficult to solve that they cannot be done even by very powerful supercomputers. One of that problem is finding factors of a very large number. If you have a number with billions digits, then finding prime factorization of that large number. जो भी classical algorithms हैं, which can run on simple computers or even on supercomputers, they still will take hundreds of years to solve that problem. And then there was a mathematician named Shor, S-H-O-R. And Shor wrote an algorithm that in future, if somebody does have a quantum computer, where you have qubits, entangled with each other, and you have superposition of both 0 and 1 together, that is called quantum superposition. So if you have that quantum superposition of 0 and 1, which we call qubit, and if you have millions of qubits entangled with each other, if that theoretical possibility you can do in an experimental computer, in an actual computer, then he was able to prove that this problem, finding prime factors of a large number, can be solved within fraction of second, right? So such type of problem are called RSA encryption problems, and many of such RSA encryption problem can be solved by a quantum computer, a sufficiently powerful quantum computer. So then you see that what is world doing to find a way out of it, because as of now किसी के पास इतना powerful quantum computer नहीं है जो कि Shor algorithm को run कर सके. ये fact है, you should know this. Currently nobody has a quantum computer powerful enough to run Shor's algorithm. But just in case मान लो 2 साल बाद किसी ने बना लिया है, then there is a fear in the world right now by banking companies, by finance companies, by governments, by intelligence agencies, that अभी जो हम data store या transfer करते हैं, जो हम encryption use करते हैं, that encryption is using mathematical problems which cannot be solved by supercomputer. But in future there is somebody with a quantum computer powerful enough who can solve that problem. Then your banking, finance, health, national security, all of that data can be compromised. So this is where world has to think about what is called post-quantum cryptography. That even if somebody does have a quantum computer, you have the capability enough that despite quantum computer, they will not be able to find solution to that problem. And one of that will be quantum key distribution. So in quantum key distribution, first is true, the two parties, मान लो A and B दोनों में कुछ information उनको exchange करना है, they share essentially qubits with help of a satellite or with help of some optical fiber cable. And the entire security lies in the fact that if somebody is trying to know about that encryption key, then the moment they try to measure that encryption key will change, and that change will alert both sender and receiver will not use that key anymore. So that second is true, and also the correct explanation of statement 1. So measuring a quantum state inevitably disturbs it, alerting the communicating parties. So first is true, second is true, third जो है, that is actually not true in this context. That quantum key distribution does not rely upon finding solution to complex mathematical problem. This relies upon ideas of quantum mechanics such as quantum superposition and quantum entanglement. It does not rely upon very complicated mathematical problem. This is what is used by public key cryptography or public key distribution. In public key distribution, जो आपका encryption की है वो आप सबके साथ शेयर करते हो, बट जो आपका डिक्रिप्शन की है वो आप लोकली स्टोर करते हो. जैसे इसका सबसे बढ़िया एग्जांपल पास की है. आप सबके मोबाइल फोन में पास की होगा, तो आपका जो पासवर्ड है वो बहुत जगह पे स्टोर होगा. वो तो क्लाउड पे गूगल पे आप पासवर्ड बनाओगे, गूगल क्रेडेंशियल कहीं पे भी यूज करोगे, सेम पासवर्ड आप रिकवर कर लोगे. बट आपका जो पास की है वो लोकली स्टोर्ड है. यू आर नॉट शेयरिंग दैट विथ एनीबडी एंड दैट इज ओनली बीइंग शेयर्ड हियर. सो पास की इज अ वेरी गुड एग्जांपल ऑफ प्राइवेट की दैट यू आर नॉट शेयरिंग दैट. सो इन एनी केस, जो ट्रेडिशनल encryption schemes हैं, they use public key distribution, and some of those public key distribution that can be broken by quantum computer, and hence we have to think of a better way of encrypting data, and that is why that concept of quantum key distribution is important. अब ये इसलिए भी हमको पता होना चाहिए कि अगर आप नेशनल क्वांटम मिशन का ऑब्जेक्टिव जाके पढ़ोगे तो उस ऑब्जेक्टिव में आपको दो लाइन मिल जाएगा, दैट जो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी जो है, दे ट्राइंग टू क्रिएट क्वांटम की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन फॉर across 2000 kilometer, either with help of a optical fiber cable or with help of a satellite. That is the objective of National Quantum Mission. So here the answer is only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct, and that explains statement 1. Okay. Another topic which I do think will be asked by UPSC जब भी है, एक standard topic है, the concept of edge computing. Yes, easy है I guess. That if you know edge computing, this is an easy question. That edge computing is preferred for applications such as autonomous vehicles, industrial automation over cloud computing. Edge computing processes data at or near the source rather than sending it to a distant center. Both are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. Answer is A. तो ये जो sending to some centralized server है, that is what cloud computing is all about. But that increases what is called latency, कि आपका जो decision making period है, that time will be more. And if let's say I have a self-driving car, then that self-driving car का latency जो है वो 1 millisecond में होना चाहिए. That traffic red light है, अभी brake लगाना है. It can't be 1 second delay. That can cause a problem. There is a person in front of you, you have to immediately apply brake. So for such type of things, that decision making has to be exactly the moment you receive data, decision has to be there, then and there, at that point of time. So that delay in decision making by a communication network, we use the word latency. And we want to reduce that latency, and that is where edge computing is remarkable. Edge computing is not a substitute of cloud computing, I always mention that. Edge computing in a way complements cloud computing. And I always give this analogy of, think of this as a democratic decentralization. That think of panchayat and think of union government. That union government will not take care of the problem of कि आपके पंचायत में नल खराब है, टैप काम नहीं कर रहा, राइट. बट जो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी है वो यूनियन गवर्नमेंट करेगी, जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर है वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट करेगी, बट जो लोकल इश्यूज हैं वो आपका लोकल सरपंच या मुखिया करेगा. तो जो एज कंप्यूटिंग है इज लाइक दैट लोकल सरपंच मुखिया. जो क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग है दैट इज लाइक जनता दरबार ऑफ चीफ मिनिस्टर. अभी भी लगता है जनता दरबार बाय द वे. सो जनता दरबार ऑफ चीफ मिनिस्टर और मन की बात भाई प्रधानमंत्री जी. सो दिस इज एग्जांपल ऑफ क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग. सो एनीवेज, हियर आंसर इज बोथ 1 and 2 आर करेक्ट, and statement 2 explains statement 1. 11. What is the answer? Which one is not correct? Virtual software. Perfect. इसका भी background है. We have a national interdisciplinary mission on cyber physical system. So why this question is there? That I would want you to read more about national mission on interdisciplinary mission on cyber physical system. And I can add a factual part here that generally जो ये electronics वाले mission होते हैं, computing वाले mission होते हैं, generally they come under Ministry of Electronics and IT. But ये जो mission है, this is under Ministry of Science and Technology. That's just a factual information which I can throw. That ये जो National Interdisciplinary Mission on Cyber Physical System है, that is under Department of Science and Technology. अभी जो AI से रिलेटेड जो भी चीज़ें हो रही हैं, मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर बीइंग डन बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड IT. जैसे वो अभी मैंने रूल बताया, दैट रूल इज पब्लिश्ड बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड IT. जो AI सबमिट हुआ था, more or less responsibility of Ministry of Electronics and IT. Okay. Cyber physical system has a very simple meaning that I have physical devices, but those physical devices are equipped with sensors, and those sensors are acting as input, and in that physical device there is a computer which can take that input, process information, and can provide some sort of output. So input sensor है, जो output है that is called actuator. Right, so in lot of the cyber physical devices we will have an actuator. जैसे एक simple सा example मान लो कि आपके पास एक industrial robot है. An industrial robot का purpose ये है that it has to scan some good and then based on that has to lift and put it somewhere. Right, तो यहाँ पे जो scanning part है, that scanning part will be the input, and the fact that this robot can lift it up and move, that part will be the output. तो जो output part है we call it actuator. बट ये इनपुट से आउटपुट तक जाने के लिए जो प्रोसेसिंग है, दैट प्रोसेसिंग इज द कंप्यूटर, हेंस द वर्ड साइबर फिजिकल सिस्टम. दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटीग्रेटिंग साइबर कंपोनेंट इन फिजिकल डिवाइसेस, इन फिजिकल एनवायरनमेंट. मेट्रो का जो एस्केलेटर है, दैट अभी चल नहीं रहा, बट द मोमेंट यू गो देयर इट स्टार्ट्स मूविंग. राइट, सो एंड वन मोर थिंग, इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स, द आइडिया ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स इज अ सबसेट ऑफ साइबर फिजिकल सिस्टम. इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स में की पार्ट क्या है? दैट मल्टीपल डिवाइसेस विच आर कम्युनिकेटिंग विथ ईच अदर. साइबर फिजिकल सिस्टम में इसकी जरूरत नहीं है. आई कैन हैव अ स्टैंड अलोन डिवाइस विच इज रिसीविंग सम इनपुट एंड डूइंग सम आउटपुट. इट डज नॉट हैव टू बी पार्ट ऑफ अ लार्जर कम्युनिकेशन नेटवर्क. तो ये जो वर्ड है वर्चुअल सॉफ्टवेयर, द मोमेंट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट वर्चुअल सॉफ्टवेयर, देर इज नो फिजिकल कॉम्पोनेंट टू इट, सो हेंस दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट. But smart power grids, autonomous vehicles, precision agricultural system, industrial robots, these four will be example of cyber physical system. Answer here is C, only 4. ठीक है? 12 I already told you. Okay, 13 is another question where even if you know that all of these three terms are related to blockchain, that is also good enough. And I can separately expect 2 questions on this. I can expect a question only on the concept of smart contract, or I can expect a question from these 2 concepts together, proof of work, proof of stake together. Here the answer is 1 only. जो 2 and 3 है उसको बस हमने exchange किया है. तो जो smart contract है, that is a line of code which exists on a blockchain, and that contract is executed the moment the contractual obligations are, जो भी conditions हैं, the moment those conditions are fulfilled, the contract automatically will be executed. I will not require some sort of third party intervention, and this is possible with help of blockchain technology. So knowing just this 2 line is more than enough. That smart contract can be thought of as a line of code. Every contractual obligation is written in that line of code, and that line of code exists on a blockchain, first. Second, the moment conditions are fulfilled, the contractual obligations automatically will be executed without any third party intervention. And this is possible with help of blockchain technology. So that first is true. इसी smart contract को मान लो, जैसे एक और question है, there is another question in your paper on DAO. कौन सा question number है वो? Yes, 23. Here the answer is A. The decentralized autonomous organizations, they are associated with blockchain technology. Idea here is that अभी जैसे मान लो एक simple सा example लेते हैं. Let me directly tell you what DAO, how DAO will function. अभी मान लो that you have some business idea, आपको लोन चाहिए. आप जाओगे बैंक के पास, बैंक आपका क्रेडिट देखेगी, बहुत सारी चीज़ें देखेगी, और उसके हिसाब से बैंक डिसाइड करेगी कि आप लोन वर्दी हो या नहीं हो. देयर इज अ सेंट्रलाइज्ड अथॉरिटी हु इज गेटिंग टू डिसाइड दैट आपको लोन मिलना चाहिए, नहीं मिलना चाहिए. डाओ का क्या मतलब है? आपका प्रपोजल है, यू प्रपोज अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, दैट यू पब्लिश दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑन अ ब्लॉकचेन समवेयर. इथेरियम जो क्रिप्टो करेंसी है, उनका जो ब्लॉकचेन है, यहाँ पे आप सब कुछ कर सकते हो. And DAO essentially is that there are multiple nodes, multiple people across the world who own Ethereum, who own that Ethereum currency. And they can collectively decide, depending upon how much ether they hold, how much Ethereum currency they hold, that unka voting power kya hai. And if lot of people decide that no, your idea is good, then that contractual obligation will be fulfilled and you will get certain type of Ethereum currency, certain amount of Ethereum currency to fulfill whatever your plan is. So this is a decision making done by multiple nodes rather than one centralized bank. Hence the name decentralized autonomous organization, and this is again only and only possible with help of blockchain technology. So iska jo answer hai, that is blockchain technology. So in any case, smart contract, this is true. Proof of work and proof of stake, they both are examples of what is called consensus algorithm. Remember, in blockchain, you do not have a centralized authority. You do not have a centralized decision-making authority. So what data is valid, what data is invalid. And if a valid data has been added, it must not be deleted or modified. To do that, we need security, and that security is called consensus mechanism. That participants have to agree that if, let's say, I become part of a blockchain, then I have to agree that certain transactions should be added, certain transactions should not be added. And for that agreement, I need a security protocol. And that security protocol can be either proof of work or proof of stake. तो यहाँ पे बस second and third को हमने exchange किया है. जो proof of work है, that requires participant to solve computational intensive mathematical puzzle. This is called mining. जैसे आपने अगर Bitcoin mining या cryptographic mining word अगर आपने सुना हुआ है, तो यही है. So that is proof of work. And जो proof of stake है, that requires participant to validate transactions based on the amount of cryptocurrency they hold and lock up as collateral. Once you do your job diligently, you get your money back and you get some reward also. And if you do not do your job diligently, then you lose your collateral also. Hence the name proof of stake. That आप stake पे लगाओगे and आपने stake पे लगाया है तब जाके आपको power मिला है that you get to validate transactions on the blockchain. And if you misuse that power, then forget about the reward, you also lose your stake. As of now, जो Bitcoin है, that still runs on proof of work. You should know this, that Bitcoin still runs on proof of work, first. Second, proof of work का एक सबसे बड़ा criticism ये है that it consumes lot of power, and because of that it is not considered environment friendly. Power mostly comes from burning fossil fuel. Proof of stake जो है, Ethereum cryptocurrency जो है, the second most famous cryptocurrency, that has switched from proof of work to proof of stake. It started with proof of work, but as of now it has switched to proof of stake. And इसका सबसे बड़ा एक जो benefit ये है that जो power consumption है, that has reduced by more than 95%. यहाँ पे competitive mining नहीं होता, proof of work में competitive mining होता है. यहाँ पे competitive mining की ज़रूरत नहीं है. So even knowing that these terms are related to blockchain, that is also, I actually think that if there is a question on this theme, this will be the most expected question. That these words will be thrown at you and you're supposed to know that they are related to blockchain technology. 14. Answer is Ministry of Electronics and IT, right? जो भी mobile communication और part होगा, that will be Ministry of Communication. Ministry of Science and Technology does many things. There is a Department of Science and Technology which does many things. For example, I told you about that cyber physical system. I told you about that National Quantum Mission. They are directly under Ministry of Science and Technology. Prime Minister Office, that is just a trap. So here answer is A, Ministry of Electronics and IT. And you should know that this is the most, like at top most हम बात करें, compute कोई भी मान लो cyber attack होता है, then बहुत सारे agencies पे obligation है that you have to report this to CERTIN. And CERTIN operates under Ministry of Electronics and IT. I had a question here. The reason, another reason why I made this question was that I wanted to talk about cybersecurity in detail. जैसे जो question number 17 है, इसको देखो आप. इतनी सारी चीजें यूपीएससी नहीं पूछेगी. ये जानबूझ के मैंने इसलिए डाल रखा है that you should know about meaning of all of them one by one. ये क्वेश्चन यूपीएससी इतना 5 स्टेटमेंट का इतना इलेबोरेट तरीके से एग्जाम में नहीं आएगा, मेरे हिसाब से नहीं आना चाहिए. बट nonetheless, I try to ensure कि अगर आपको थोड़ा बहुत भी पता है तो आप आंसर कर सको. लाइक एलिमिनेशन का यहाँ पे स्कोप है. What is the correct answer? Like anyone who attempted, how many of you attempted it? Few of you, what is the answer? Answer is A. So A देखो होता है, बहुत बार ऐसे लेंदी क्वेश्चन दिखते हैं आपको 5-6 स्टेटमेंट के, आप थोड़ा सा सोचते हो, एंड आई हैव ऑलवेज रियलाइज्ड कि जो 5-6 स्टेटमेंट वाले क्वेश्चन है, यू शुड ट्राई टू अटेम्प्ट देम unless that new pattern is there. How many of them are correct? That's a separate game. That's a separate game. But इस तरीके का अगर option है, then try to attempt this and you'll realize that most of the time you'll get your answer correct. Okay. Phishing attack, the attacker typically impersonates a trusted entity to trick user into revealing sensitive information. That is the literal meaning of the word phishing. ठीक है. DDoS attack, अब ये मैं याद रखूंगा, I can expect a question separately on this. That what is this DDoS attack? Who knows what is DDoS attack? Simple. क्या यहाँ पे क्या करेंगे कि जो साइबर अटैकर्स हैं, they will use so many bots, so many IoTs to make a particular server busy that अगर आप एक बढ़िया यूजर हो, you genuinely want to use something, but you will not be able to use it because so much of traffic, unnecessary, useless traffic is essentially directed towards that particular server. So such type of attack is called DDoS attack. Okay. So ये जो statement है that to gain unauthorized access to a system by exploiting software vulnerability, no. This is simple cyber attack. जैसे इसका जो example है वो होगा zero day attack. Who knows what is zero day attack? ये question में नहीं है, but let me add one more. What is zero day attack? Zero day attack will be कि मान लो डेवलपर ने कोई सॉफ्टवेयर बनाया एंड दे रियलाइज्ड कि कुछ इसमें प्रॉब्लम है, देयर इज अ वल्नरेबिलिटी व्हिच कैन बी एक्सप्लॉइटेड, बट बिफोर दे कुड पैच दैट, दे कुड फिक्स दैट वल्नरेबिलिटी, cyber criminals use that vulnerability to steal sensitive data or to do anything else. So why it is called zero day? Because आपके पास टाइम ही नहीं है, you could not able to fix that patch and somebody else was able to exploit it, hence the name zero day attack. So this is a simple example of cyber attack, and within cyber attack, one specific example will be this zero day attack, and that is why updating your apps and softwares always is a good idea. Third जो है, ये नाम से clear है कि क्या है, man in the middle attack. Attacker secretly intercepts and possibly alters communication between two parties. So ये नाम में definition नाम में है. Ransomware attack encrypts the victim's data, demands payment for its release. This is also true. Ransom literally means आपने क्या किया, लैपटॉप को, सॉफ्टवेयर्स को, सर्वर्स को आपने हैक कर लिया एंड देन यू आर आस्किंग कि इतना बिटकॉइन दो इस वॉलेट में, तब जाके हमें फ्री करेंगे. सो सच टाइप ऑफ अटैक इज कॉल्ड ransomware attack. And this is very much important in the context of AI, and this is also true that जो prompt injection attack है, that prompt injection attack essentially means that specifically crafted inputs to AI and particularly to LLMs. This is very, very important for large language models. Forcing it to ignore developer instructions and execute malicious commands. So a lot of LLMs as of now have this inbuilt mechanism to ensure that they can prevent such type of phishing attack. तो अगर आपने ChatGPT, Gemini या Claude, आप इनका जो थॉट प्रोसेस जब चलता है, रिस्पॉन्स करने से पहले बोलते रहते हैं ना थॉट, उसको अगर थोड़ा ध्यान से देखना और पढ़ना उसके बारे में, तो वहाँ पे एक इस पे भी वो फोकस करेंगे दैट इज इट नॉट लाइक यूजर इज नॉट ट्राइंग टू डू एनी टाइप ऑफ दैट prompt injection attack, right? So prompt injection is very much in the context of large language model, right? 1, 3, 4 and 5, that is the correct answer. This is easy, I guess. Question 18. What is the answer? B. Answer is B. First, 5G operates exclusively at sub 1 GHz frequency, not at all. यहीं पे गलत है. It operates at less than 1, between 1 to 8, and then also operates from 24 to 40. So it operates at what is called low band frequency, mid band frequency and high band frequency. And high band frequency is being used by 5G for mobile for the first time. Satellites have used those high band frequencies for many years. But satellite के अलावा अगर हम मोबाइल की बात करें, तो ये जो 30 GHz वाला जो frequency है, that is being used by 5G for the first time by mobile networks. So that is not true. B is true. It supports ultra low latency, ability to connect a very large number of devices per unit area simultaneously. That is the differentiating factor between 5G and 4G लेटेंसी यहाँ पे 1 मिली सेकेंड है, 4G का एवरेज लेटेंसी इज 25-30 मिली सेकेंड। क्वेश्चन नंबर 13। हाँ जी, अच्छा सॉरी 15 हमने डिस्कस नहीं किया, सॉरी। ओके, UPSC again will not give you so many statements in one question. The reason I have done it here is that you should know the important provisions of this act. इतने सारे स्टेटमेंट जो हैं एक क्वेश्चन में नहीं आएगा, जनरली 3 स्टेटमेंट 4 स्टेटमेंट के क्वेश्चंस होंगे, बट फिर भी क्या आंसर, क्या आपने क्या आंसर किया इसका? नहीं अटेम्प्ट किया था? करना चाहिए था अटेम्प्ट। ये भी एक ऐसा क्वेश्चन था जो करना चाहिए था अटेम्प्ट, बिकॉज हाउ मेनी ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट्स नहीं है, स्कोप है एलिमिनेशन का। एक रिस्क ये है दैट व्हाट इफ ऑल ऑफ देम आर करेक्ट, सो ईदर ऑल ऑफ देम आर करेक्ट और एट लीस्ट 2 आर रॉन्ग। आप देख रहे हो ऑप्शन हम कैसे एनालाइज कर सकते हैं, द वे ऑप्शंस आर गिवन, देन लुक एट द ऑप्शंस ए बी सी में कम से कम 2 तो गलत हैं आउट ऑफ 6, ना तो सारे के सारे 6 सही हैं, राइट। सो I will try to find, for example, let's say, and I always say this, I mentioned this in the last class also, the trying to focus, try to find out the correct statement. Forget about wrong statement. Try to focus first on the correct statement. It applies only to foreign companies. This should not make sense. That first you should immediately eliminate does not make sense. It establishes a Data Protection Board of India. Let's say you do not know this fact. So you will ignore this fact for the time being. That I do not know the second statement right now. I will see it later. Maybe it does, maybe it does not. It grants individual rights including the right to information about their data and right to erasure. Now that makes a lot of logical sense. We are talking about digital data protection and I'm saying that users have the right to know that how their data will be used, and if they want their personal data to be removed, they should have this right also. They can ask a company that remove my personal data. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. The third should be true. It requires entities collecting data to obtain consent before processing. That also makes a lot of sense. We are talking about data protection. So that third and fourth, that should be true together. And I should try to find statements where third and fourth are true together. And the only option left is A and D. Right? So I did not even see the wrong statement. अब देखो कि मुझे wrong मैंने देखा ही नहीं है, मैं खाली अभी right देख रहा हूँ मैं, और राइट देख के भी आई नो दैट आंसर विल बी ईदर ए और डी, बट अब मुझे रॉन्ग देखना पड़ेगा। दैट नाउ आई हैव टू फोकस अपॉन दोज 2 स्टेटमेंट्स जो कि नहीं है ए में, दैट आई हैव टू लुक एट द 4 and 5, सॉरी सी एंड डी। सो आई हैव दिस ऑप्शन, इट अप्लाइज, 1 शुड नॉट बी करेक्ट, सॉरी सी और डी, थैंक्स अ लॉट। सो 1 शुड नॉट बी करेक्ट, सो 2 3 4, सो आई हैव टू फोकस अपॉन 1 5 and 6, and if in that 3 any one, if I find that it is ridiculous, that should not be true, then I have my answer, isn't it? तो अब ऐसे देखो, पहला ही गलत है, फर्स्ट गलत है, देन उसके बाद आप ये देखो, it mandates complete data localization, that is all personal data of Indian citizens must be stored only on servers physically located within India. ये ट्रैप इसलिए है because this was one of the conversation going on when this law was being discussed about. But government realized that अगर इंडिया मान लो बहुत restrict हो जाए डेटा लोकलाइजेशन को लेके, तो बाकी वर्ल्ड भी ऐसे ही करेगी। And when we look at our IT sector, जैसे हमारी जो IT कंपनीज हैं, why they are one of the biggest beneficiary of globalization and cloud computing. The TCS and Wipro, they can handle data of Americans while sitting in Bengaluru. तो अगर अमेरिका भी सेम करना शुरू करते, तो there was a realization that इस टाइप का जो ये inward looking है, that may not be the way forward. But at the same time, if you do have sensitive data, and if you also in future realize that there are certain countries where having this data of Indians being sent there in their servers, तो यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया फॉरबिड कर सकती है। जैसे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया फॉरबिड कर सकती है कि अगर फेसबुक कल को पाकिस्तान में डेटा सेंटर बनाए, तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया फेसबुक को बोल सकती है कि इंडियंस का डेटा तो यहाँ पे स्टोर नहीं होगा। That government of India can do that. Government of India can also say that there are certain जो military के लोग हैं या certain type of जो specific data है that must be stored locally. But a blanket statement, the data localization of each and everything for all type of data for all Indians, no, that we have not done, and frankly that's a good thing that we have not done this. So that fifth is not correct, and that sixth also does not make sense. Just because there is some offline data which was collected and maybe let's say this was later digitized, and saying that nahi digital data protection is pe nahi hoga applicable, that also does not make sense. So I have my answer 2. So I did not know about 2, but now I know that 2 is correct. So answer here is 2, 3 and 4. Okay, India stack पे आज तक अभी तक कोई डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आया नहीं है. APIs पे यूपीएससी ने क्वेश्चन पूछ रखा है, बट दे हैव नॉट आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन ऑन इंडिया स्टैक. तो इंडिया स्टैक आप ऐसे समझ लो, दिस इज अ वेरी एम्बिशियस इनिशिएटिव of Government of India, where many open source APIs are available, which can be integrated by different companies to make governance more smooth. तो इसके 3 लेयर हैं. जो सबसे पहला लेयर ये है that Indians have this unique identifier Aadhaar, right? Second layer जो ये है that there are many online portals through which you can access certain type of data, certain type of information about people. And जो third layer है वो UPI है. दैट यूपीआई देखो बहुत सारे जो आप यूपीआई आप हर जगह यूज़ कर सकते हो, पेटीएम पे यूज़ कर सकते हो, गूगल पे यूज़ कर सकते हो. सो ये थर्ड लेयर है. सो एंड दिस हैज़ बिकम सो सक्सेसफुल. आई कैन ऐड वन मोर पार्ट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन दैट दिस इज बीइंग यूज्ड बाय अदर कंट्रीज ऑल्सो. ये जो ओपन एपीआईज हैं दे आर बीइंग यूज्ड बाय अदर कंट्रीज ऑल्सो. जैसे आई एम वेरी श्योर दैट यू ऑलरेडी नो दैट मेनी कंट्रीज यूज यूपीआई एज अ टूल. यूपीएससी ने पूछा भी था प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम में लास्ट ईयर. सो ये जो पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इंडिया स्टैक है, दिस इज वेरी रिमार्केबल कॉन्सेप्ट इन द सेंस दैट यू हैव मेनी ओपन सोर्स APIs and with 3 layers: Aadhaar, document layer, and then finally UPI layer, and this can be used by service providers and it can make governance and schemes better. जो second है, this is also true, ONDC, इस पे भी एक dedicated question UPSC पूछ ही सकती है. that बहुत सारे जो ई-कॉमर्स कंपनीज हैं, जैसे मान लो अमेजोन या फ्लिपकार्ट, इनका एक हमेशा क्रिटिसिज्म ये रहा है that there are specific set of conditions you have to fulfill if you want to sell your goods on this platform. So in that context, ONDC was developed, that this open network for digital commerce to create a decentralized e-commerce network. You can develop your app on ONDC. Just I will give you a very good example of app will be Bharat Taxi. If you have used Bharat Taxi, then that will be a very good example of ONDC. And third is also true, that जो account aggregator framework ये है, that you can get data of all sort of financial data at one portal. जैसे आपका सारा का सारा म्यूचुअल फंड एक जगह आपको दिख जाए, सारा का सारा इन्वेस्टमेंट इंश्योरेंस आपको एक जगह दिख जाए. So such type of framework that is called account aggregator. So third is also true. Answer here is C. All 3 is the correct answer. 17 कर लिया हमने, 18 कर लिया. Okay, 19 क्या होगा आंसर? B is the correct answer. Both are true, but statement 1 and statement 2 are not causally linked per se. The brain-computer interfaces are systems that establish a communication pathway between the brain and external device. Yes, that is true. But Neuralink एक example है brain-computer interface का, and ये सही है. That Neuralink implanted its first device in human patient, subsequently demonstrated the ability to control a computer cursor using neural signal. Without moving hand, without anything, just by thinking, can move that cursor. Right? So there is a live stream video of this. They both are true, but statement 2 is not the explanation of statement 1. Answer here is B. Okay. Let me see. Neuralink implanted first device. PCI interfaces, हाँ, then सही हो जाता. ठीक है, अगर हम इसको statement 2 को हम statement 1 बना देते, statement 1 को 2 बना देते, then answer would have been A. Both would have been true, and that would have also been the correct. I agree. That would have been correct answer. Question 20. ये न्यूज़ में देखो इसलिए था, जो ट्विटर के फॉर्मर CEO हैं, जो अभी x.com है, पहले ट्विटर था. So ट्विटर के जो फाउंडर हैं essentially, Jack Dorsey thought of this idea that let's use Bluetooth mesh network to create communication. I had a lot of slides which I wanted to show. I did not show anything. Pairing is very simple. When we talk about pairing between devices, this is then 1-to-1 pairing. Broadcast is from one device, multiple devices are connected, so satellite broadcast will be example of broadcast. Mesh का मतलब होता है many to many, that if you have multiple devices and all of those multiple devices are using as a node, as some sort of hop network, that your information is being hopped from one device to another from multiple direction. Okay, and then many scientists have figured out that जैसे अब मान लो कि एक अभी ये हो नहीं रहा है अभी, बट मान लो फ्यूचर में ऐसा हो कि हम सबके पास मोबाइल फ़ोन है एंड आई वांट टू सेंड सम इन्फॉर्मेशन टू somebody who is sitting at the back. I repeat, ये अभी नहीं हो रहा है. I'm just giving you an example. So our mobile phones, because all of us is Bluetooth enabled, so rather than relying upon some geo data or some Wi-Fi of this room, if all of these devices are Bluetooth enabled, then I want to send something, वो आपके पास गया, फिर इधर गया, फिर इधर गया, यहाँ गया, and finally reaches to the person I send this information to, without any type of network connectivity except Bluetooth. Right. So अब यहाँ पे दो चैलेंज आएगा. पहला चैलेंज ये होगा that ये information encrypted होना चाहिए, that only I should know and only the person who I have sent this data should know. बीच के जो devices हैं, they cannot make sense of what that information is. दूसरा चैलेंज ये होगा that because it is many to many, इस बात का क्या गारंटी है कि वहाँ तक पहुँच ही जाए, वापस मेरे पास तो नहीं आ जाए, यहाँ से गया इधर गया मेरे पास आ गया, because if all directions are possible, then ये मेरे पास भी वापस, so ये we have to figure that out, and yes, that has also been figured out. So whenever we use the word mesh network, it has a very simple meaning. We are talking about many to many. So Bluetooth mesh का मतलब जो है, look at the statement. Is well suited for smart building applications such as lighting control and sensor network. That is true. IoT. Think of now multiple Internet of Things devices operating by with help of Bluetooth mesh. It uses many to many communication topology where messages are relayed across multiple devices. Yes. It is primarily designed for high bandwidth streaming applications such as multi-room audio and video distribution. The moment statement 1 is true, and ऐसे 3 statement में तो statement 1 true मान के ही हम चलते हैं, तो statement 3 is not true, you can appreciate that, and answer becomes C. So even though prima facie it may have looked like a very difficult question, frankly it is not. So ये एक इसका limitation है, that for high bandwidth requirement जो Bluetooth mesh है, that will not be very good, but for simple requirements such as text and IoT, Bluetooth mesh can work really, really well. Answer here is C. Only one of the 2 and 3 is correct, and that explains statement 1. Okay, this is current affairs. ये National Broadband Mission 2.0 just अभी Government of India ने launch किया है. The goal is again very simple, that जो ग्राम पंचायत से उनको हम optical fiber cable से connect करेंगे. तो question ये है that it prioritizes deployment of optical fiber to provide high-speed broadband to rural gram panchayat rather than copper cable. That we have opted for optical fiber and we have not opted for copper cable. Optical fibers can carry data at far higher bandwidth, far longer distances with lower signal loss than copper cable. This is true, and also the correct explanation. इसका statement का एक और explanation ये होगा, जैसे मान लो इसको मैं statement 1 बनाता, and statement 2 मेरा ये होता that optical fiber cable use total internal reflection to send data, then that would also have been true, and also the correct explanation of statement 1. So I can add one more here, that इसको आप statement 1 मान लो, and then statement 2 आप ये लिखो that it uses total internal reflection for communication, then both will be true, and that statement 2 will be explanation of this particular statement. Here both are true, and statement 2 is the correct explanation. Answer will be A. Read more about this. Read more about that National Broadband Mission 2.0. That is the larger theme. I hope it is very clear that the purpose of this discussion is not the question itself. The purpose of the discussion is to focus on these themes which are covered in this question paper. So try to read more about them. भारत नेट उसी का एक पार्ट है, ठीक है. ये मैंने लास्ट क्लास में बताया था. सो अगेन नेशनल क्वांटम मिशन के 4 फोकस एरियाज हैं: क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग, क्वांटम कम्युनिकेशन, क्वांटम सेंसिंग एंड फाइनली क्वांटम डिवाइसेस. सो वही क्वांटम डिवाइसेस सेंसिंग जो है, So quantum sensing means we are talking about sensors. Sensors का purpose है to measure something, to find presence of something. So atomic clocks use the oscillation of atoms such as cesium. I mentioned cesium or rubidium can be used. And this is also true. Again, I don't think UPSC will go into such technical detail in one question. So many things will be thrown at you. The reason this question I have made here is that you get to know about all of them separately. So ये true है. And ये भी true है that cesium का जो vibration है that is defined, that is used to define 1 second. Quantum magnetometers are used for non-invasive brain imaging detection of submarine in defense application. This is also true. And in fact, we do use a type of device called SQUID device, which was in news because of Nobel Prize in Physics 2025. So quantum magnetometers, the best magnetometer is called SQUID, SQUID. And that can detect magnetic field even if it is very, very weak. And third जो है, quarks are more accurate than atomic clocks because quarks oscillations are immune to temperature changes. That is not at all true. So answer here is 1 and 2 only. But quarks in itself is a very remarkable example of what is called piezoelectric material. Materials which start vibrating if you hit them, if you apply mechanical stress to them. If you apply electric field, they can become deformed and they can also start oscillating, right? So such type of material is called piezoelectric material, and quartz, which is nothing but silicon dioxide, is a very good example of piezoelectric material. Answer here is 1 and 2 only. Can you like इतना याद रहेगा that हम piezoelectricity material के 2-3 प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, अगर आप खाली इतना याद रख लो. पहला कि अगर हम हिट करेंगे तो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स फ्लो होगा. अब क्यों होगा वो अलग क्वेश्चन है. अब उनका इंटरनल मॉलिक्यूलर स्ट्रक्चर अलाउ करता है कि इलेक्ट्रॉन्स कैन फ्लो फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर प्लेस. इलेक्ट्रॉन फ्लो के लिए एनर्जी चाहिए. आई एम प्रोवाइडिंग दैट एनर्जी बाय हिटिंग इट. जैसे गैस लाइटर में हम यूज करते हैं. वन ऑफ द बेस्ट एग्जांपल ऑफ क्वार्ट्ज एप्लीकेशन इज इन गैस लाइटर. व्हेन यू हिट, जब आप प्रेस करते हो जो स्पार्क आता है, दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ दैट पाइजोइलेक्ट्रिक प्रॉपर्टी. सेकेंड, आप ये याद रखोगे दैट इफ आई अप्लाई इलेक्ट्रिसिटी टू इट, it can start oscillating. If I apply, put that into electric field, it can get deformed also. And fourth, आप याद रखोगे, third or fourth जो भी है, आप याद रखोगे that quartz is a fantastic example of piezoelectric material. And quartz is nothing but silicon dioxide, SiO2. If you can remember this, I think this will be more than enough for prelims. Digital twin, this is easy. Answer is B. Answer is B. A digital replica of a physical object or system used for monitoring, simulation or optimization. You can think of it something like this. I should have a picture. Okay, I do not have a picture, I guess. No, I have. There is a physical object equipped with lot of sensors. And with help of those sensors, we are receiving some data, and that data is being fed to a simulation, a digital simulation of this physical object. And then we can make certain changes into that simulation and see that how this object will change, and that can be fed back to the system. So this is like a two-way communication where we are trying to, final goal here is that we are trying to understand more about how this complex object will behave under different conditions. So this technology is called digital twin technology. This has applications in automobiles, rockets, airplanes, human body. Human body का आप एक digital replica बना सकते हो, organ का आप एक digital replica बना सकते हो. जैसे मान लो somebody has heart related problem. तो हमने उनका एक डिजिटल रेप्लिका बनाया, बहुत सारे सेंसर्स लगाए, एंड देन वी आर सीइंग इन अ लिटरली वर्चुअल मॉडल दैट हाउ दिस ऑब्जेक्ट इज बिहेविंग अंडर डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ कंडीशन. So this has applications even in healthcare, not limited to material science and automobile. It has applications in healthcare. कौन से मूवी में, कौन से वाले में? I don't, मुझे याद तो है, but हाँ कह सकते हैं, हाँ हाँ सही बोल रहे हो, कह सकते हो, कह सकते हो. That was an example of digital twin. ये मैंने बता दिया already. 25 आंसर विल बी डी. आप ये गो एंड रीड मोर अबाउट इट. इंडिया का सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन के बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल में और जाके पढ़ो कि क्या क्या इसके इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट्स है. व्हाट ऑल वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू. क्वेश्चन नंबर 26. ये क्या होगा. ये क्वेश्चन ऐसा है जो आपको देन एंड देयर सोचना है एग्जाम में अगर इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन आया और अटेम्प्ट करना है. आंसर इज बी. अभी पूरा बहुत सारा लॉट ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशन इज गोइंग ऑन रिगार्डिंग स्टारलिंक अप्रूवल. So a company may need telecom service side approval from Department of Telecommunication and authorization from in-space for satellite capacity provisioning. So even though in principle Starlink has been given this approval that Starlink will become available in India, but as of now it is not. So clearly there are certain things जहाँ पे negotiation टिका हुआ है. So anyways the answer here is B. इसको लेके ये बढ़िया क्वेश्चन है आपका. इसको लेके एक बहुत बड़ा डिबेट है. फिर ये स्टारलिंक ये बोल रही है कि स्पेस ग्लोबल कॉमन्स का पार्ट है और हम इंडिया से तो सैटेलाइट लॉन्च कर नहीं रहे. इन स्पेस का पर्पस क्या था. दैट आप जो है इंडिया से अगर आप सैटेलाइट लॉन्च कर रहे हो, प्राइवेट कंपनी हो, देन यू हैव टू हैव इन स्पेस अप्रूवल. अब स्टारलिंक ये बोल रही है कि हम इंडिया से नहीं कर रहे, हमको इंडिया में सर्विस देना है. right, and we are doing this from space. Space is not part of like Indian जो space है, that is part of global commons. So इसको लेके debate है that how should we think about this. Government of India का यहाँ पे argument ये होगा that because you are trying to provide services in India, you have to have some sort of approval from in space. Okay. Okay, now some questions of defense. This is again a very specific, deeper question. I don't know if this will be asked by UPSC or not, but I did feel that like knowing about some of the weapon systems we used during Operation Sindoor is always a good idea. So I've only mentioned 3 here, but you can go and read more about, let's say, Rafale के बारे में आप पढ़ सकते हो थोड़ा और डिटेल में. आप S-400 के बारे में थोड़ा और डिटेल में पढ़ सकते हो, right? Vikrant के बारे में, although Vikrant was only in a standby mode, it was not used, but you can go and read more about INS Vikrant, that what that is all about. यहाँ पे क्या है आंसर? Scalp is a cruise missile, almost subsonic, transonic cruise missile, which can be launched with help of Rafale. This was used on the very first night of Operation Sindoor. Harab jo hai, this is an example of kamikaze drone. Kamikaze drones are called suicide drones, that if they have specific type of target, then they can go and destroy themselves, but in the process will also destroy the target. So Harab was an example of loitering munition. And Akash Tir, this is an indigenously developed air defense system which army uses, and this was used to thwart that Pakistani drone attack on the second and third night of Operation Sindoor. So I have only given 3 examples, but go and read more about which other weapon systems we used during Operation Sindoor. So some of the most famous one, S-400 and Rafale, we will read more about it. Okay. I should have a picture of Scalp at least, I think. This is Scalp missile. It's not a supersonic missile, so its speed is transonic. Transonic का मतलब है करीब करीब speed of sound, Mach 1. So it is transonic or subsonic. This is Harab, that loitering munition which was used, and this is that indigenous air defense system which army uses to thwart aerial threats. This is called Akash Tir. Lot of ships and submarines have been in use continuously, so this is also, and why we should know about them in detail, because जैसे शिवालिक तो अभी न्यूज़ में भी था. क्यों था न्यूज़ में? हाँ, नेविगेशन जो हमारे अभी टैंकर्स को सेफली हॉर्मूज से जो क्रॉस कराना था, we sent Shivalik, but Shivalik is a frigate ship. Nilgiri is also frigate, Shivalik is also frigate, Vikrant is indigenous aircraft carrier. Answer here is 1 and 2 only. So this is going into lot of detail of things, factual details of things, but I will not be, because they already have started asking this in the last year prelims examination, I will not be surprised that if they do this again. And all of them have been in news. Nilgiri was recently inducted, hence it was in news. Shivalik was used recently to safely protect our ships फ्रॉम स्टेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज जो भी चल रहा है वहाँ पे. एंड विक्रांत ये ऐसे भी पता होना चाहिए बिकॉज ये इंडिया का पहला इंडिजिनस एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर है. इसके पहले जो भी एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर्स थे दैट वाज सिंपली केस ऑफ इंपोर्ट्स. विक्रमादित्य इज अनदर एग्जांपल, बट यहाँ पे करीब करीब 75% यहाँ पे इंडिजिनाइजेशन है. ठीक है, दोनों में तो बार है, बोथ यूजेस तो बार सिस्टम, क्या तो बार दोनों में नहीं है. दैट इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. द टर्म रडार क्रॉस सेक्शन रिडक्शन, क्या होगा आंसर? This is a very specific question. Another reason why I wanted to talk about this, that जब हम बात करते हैं some of the most advanced weapon systems की, fighter jets की या ships की या submarines की, एक हमेशा focus होगा on stealth, that how can you hide yourself from enemy radars and sonars. And stealth करने का 2-3 तरीका है. जैसे मान लो हम शिप सबमरीन की बात करें तो शिप सबमरीन में तो स्टेल्थ जो है सबसे सिंपल तो ये होगा दैट शिप एंड सबमरीन शुड नॉट मेक नॉइज, बिकॉज इफ यू मेक नॉइज सोनार विल नो दैट वेयर यू आर, राइट. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट दिस इन फाइटर जेट्स और मिसाइल्स, देन अगेन फ्यू थिंग्स, सिंपल ऑब्वियस थिंग्स जो होगा कि आपका जो हीट सिग्नेचर है कम होना चाहिए, दैट व्हेन यू बर्न योर हीट सिग्नेचर शुड बी लेस. बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल में प्रॉब्लम होता है दैट व्हेन दे get lifted, they emit huge amount of heat from one place, which can be seen from satellites or very far away radars. But let's say you do all of that, and even then you can do more. So I will give you an example which was in news recently because of Iran war. America has this very large plane called B-2 bombers, and B-2 bombers, if you look at their shape, that the type of angular shape it has, this is a very deliberate design. That यहाँ पे फिर क्या होगा कि if enemy do send radars, then those radar waves will be deflected, scattered in random direction, rather than being reflected back to the radar. So radars know about something because the reflected wave goes back to the radar. But if they are being scattered in random direction, then detection will be difficult. Always remember that हर चीज़ का limitation है. If this object will be very close to radar, a small fraction can reach to radar and radar will know about it. But this can fly in a stealth mode for thousands of kilometers and can drop very powerful bombs. This is literally called B-2 bombers because it can cause a lot of damage deep underground also. Okay, so 2-3 तरीका हम एक तो ये यूज़ कर सकते हैं that you change the shape in a way, and that is called radar cross section detection, effective radar cross section reduction. Or you can use what is called radar absorbent material. Of course we will use both of that together. So there are a lot of things, if you apply a coat of them, then rather than reflecting radar, they absorb radar and that wave undergoes total internal reflection inside the object itself. So it never reaches back to the radar. So there are things like iron ball paint, there are things like graphene and carbon nanotubes. There are certain materials called meta materials that if you use them, this can give you some sort of invisibility against a radar. So जो B-2 bomber है that uses both. इसका shape आप देख सकते हो कि बिल्कुल ही अलग है compared to typical aircraft fighter jets जो हम देखते हैं. And it also uses radar absorbent materials so that it has stealth. तो इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है वो है B, design features to avoid detection. That is the meaning of the word radar cross-section reduction. In general, stealth technology is a theme which I will prepare from defense. It is in news a lot. GPS spoofing was in news. There was some conversation going on that some of the planes which they flew over Delhi, then their GPS signal was spoofed. And in general, for example, it has been in news due to Iran-Israel war. So GPS spoofing का मतलब देखो क्या होगा, that lot of ships, a lot of drones and fighter jets, they rely upon GPS for correct navigation, to go in the correct direction. Spoofing का मतलब यहाँ पे ये है that you have some device which is essentially trying to distort your understanding of GPS signal. So rather than going in the correct direction, with help of actual GPS satellite, you have devices which operate on those same frequencies, and they cause a confusion that you are receiving a signal from this random device, not from GPS, बट आपके जो सेंसर्स हैं, जो जीपीएस आपका इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिवाइस है, उसको लग रहा है कि ये सिग्नल जीपीएस से आ रहा है, एंड दैट इसेंशियली डिस्टॉर्ट्स योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ डायरेक्शन, एंड दैट कैन बी अगेन अ वेरी पावरफुल वेपन in defense. So first is true, it works by broadcasting false GPS signal to the target drone. And second is also true, what this will look like, let me show you that, high powered microwave. ये कुछ ऐसा दिखेगा, कुछ भी आप इसको use करोगे ना, you see nothing, but then you see drones falling here, right? So the purpose of high powered microwave here is that it releases very concentrated beams of microwave radiation which can disrupt the electronics of drones and they will fall down. So this will be very useful for swarm drones. Swarm drone का मतलब है multiple drones, hundreds and thousands of them acting together in one formation, and that is being used by enemy to attack you. So for such type of disruption of swarm, this microwave weapon can be very, very helpful. ये जो weapon है, this belongs to a category of weapon called directed energy weapon. उस पे भी ये question है. यही क्वेश्चन देख लो 32. DW such as high energy laser. So rather than using some missile or some drone or some fighter jet, you are using a beam of laser. तो इसका सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिट क्या है? The travel at speed of light are extremely cost effective for high volume threat. Extremely cost effective का मतलब ये है compare one laser shot. आपने लेजर प्रोड्यूस करने में आप केपेबल हो. One laser shot hits a fighter jet. Versus you try to launch a missile and you try to hit that fighter jet. The difference in cost will be that laser shot will be almost zero cost compared to the amount of money you are spending on that fighter jet. The problem here will be to do that continuously without heating up your device. ये सबसे बड़ा challenge है laser weapons का, that when you produce laser, the device which is producing laser, that is going to heat up and its effectiveness will be reduced. This is the biggest challenge you have to overcome. Two countries are remarkable here. One is Israel, another is US. That in laser-based weapon, these two countries, their capability is at the highest as of now. So यहाँ पे जो answer है वो B है. Know about laser MK2 developed by DRDO also. Read more about it. Read about Kali weapon developed by DRDO. So read about Kali, read about laser MK2. These two things developed by DRDO. This is only and only due to Israel-Iran war and what is happening in Strait of Hormuz. That is why this question is there. Underwater warfare technology, unmanned underwater vehicles are being used for mine detection and intelligence gathering. Yes, you can do that first. Torpedoes are underwater weapons that are self-propelled towards a target and can be launched from submarines. That is also true. So torpedoes may look something like this. They can be launched either from ship or submarine. I should have a picture of a torpedo called Varunastra developed by DRDO. And third, जो statement है, what do you think? Third is true or not true? Sorry? अगर ये होता तो although not that international law is being followed right now in the world, but in any case ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. That ये जो passive defense weapons जो हैं, पहले तो पैसिव डिफेंसिव वेपन जरूरी नहीं है कि हो. पैसिव का मतलब ये है that they are only essentially doing some sort of intelligence gathering, staying at one place, not participating into war. But ऐसा नहीं है. As of now, जो underwater mines हैं, they can be active. Current underwater mines, they are active in the sense that their capability is much more sophisticated. जैसे Iran, what Iran is using to destroy some of the ships which are crossing without their permission. So ये पहला जो वर्ड है कि पैसिव डिफेंस, वो भी गलत है एंड जरूरी नहीं कि पैसिव हो, एंड जो लास्ट पार्ट है वो भी गलत है, दैट यूज्ड कैन नॉट बी यूज्ड ऑफेंसिवली अंडर अनक्लॉज. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. अनक्लॉज टॉक्स अबाउट, अनक्लॉज का मेन फोकस जो है रिसोर्स एक्सप्लोरेशन पे है, पीसफुल एक्सप्लोरेशन पे है, बट इट इज नॉट स्पेसिफिकली से एनीथिंग अबाउट अंडर वाटर वेपन. आंसर हियर इज 1 and 2 only. A is the correct answer. This is a factual question, but so many air defense systems have been in use recently that I will prepare this also. So S-400, that is from Russia. Yes, Iron Dome is from Israel. Third is from USA. All three are correct. I will add 2 more perhaps. I can add Patriot 3, which again belongs to USA. I can add David Sling, which again belongs to Israel. and maybe Arrow 3, which again belongs to Israel. So many air defense system, and add Akash Tir now, indigenously developed by India. So all of these are examples of air defense system developed by different countries. Sorry, यहाँ पे ये 1, 2 and 3 होगा. This is 1, 2 and 3, not 1, 2, 3 and 4. Answer is D here. Scramjet slows down incoming air to subsonic speed before combustion. Scramjet uses forward motion to compress air, thus has no moving parts like turbines or compressor. So statement 2 is correct, statement 1 is not correct. Statement 1 jo hai, that is description of what is called ramjet engine. So let me just briefly talk about that also. I should have a picture on that, yeah. If you want to fly with very high speed, a missile or a fighter jet, you use air breathing engines. Air breathing का मतलब ये है that you do not carry oxygen. You take oxygen from the atmosphere. But that air has to be compressed. In jet engine, which is used in fighter jets or even in cruise missiles, you have these moving parts which allows air to be compressed before combustion happens. But because of this, the speed of combustion is less, and overall जो आपका speed होगा, that can be twice or thrice the speed of sound. We call this Mach 2 or Mach 3. So you can fly with supersonic speed, but not with, let's say, Mach 4 or Mach 5 or Mach 6. In ramjet engine, you do not have any moving part. Then how do I compress that air? I compress that air due to the forward motion of the vehicle itself. Immediately you can appreciate that this will not start at 0. You already have to have Mach 3 speed, let's say, and only then this is going to operate. But for even that Mach 3 is not enough compression for combustion to happen. And that is why air movement is blocked here in ramjet, and that combustion becomes subsonic. So then scientists thought that let's remove this blockage part also, but then the type of compression which is required for that, your vehicle has to already fly with Mach 5. So that is called scramjet, supersonic combustion ramjet. So this also does not have any moving part, but this is going to fly, it is only going to operate once you already are flying at the speed of Mach 5, 5 times speed of sound. And now you can go to Mach 9, Mach 10 also. But material will be a challenge. जितना ज़्यादा आपका speed होगा atmosphere में, उतना friction होगा. This can start burning up and all of that. So इस question में जो statement ये है, that first statement is not correct. Answer here is D. Read more about them. Read more about jet, ramjet, scramjet. DRDO का एक plan ये है that जो BrahMos 2 होगा, BrahMos 2 should be a hypersonic cruise missile. As of now, it is a supersonic cruise missile, but maybe BrahMos 2 will be a hypersonic cruise missile. Again, very specific facts, and वो भी 3. क्या होगा आंसर? Anyone know? ये बहुत, अगर ऐसे क्वेश्चन आए नहीं पता हो, please don't attempt such questions. It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to not go into such type of factual question. यहाँ पे सब कुछ सही है. Example भी ठीक है. Description सही है. Loitering munition hover over a target area and self-destruction impact. These are called kamikaze drones, right? And Nagastra 1, this is indigenously developed loitering munition. So that is true. Swarm drones, multiple drones coordinate autonomously to overwhelm enemy defense system. Sheshnag, this was in news just last month, that an Indian private company is building this swarm drone, and defense forces are talking about that maybe this should be integrated. And surveillance drone designed for intelligence reconnaissance, and Tapas जो है बहुत remarkable example है surveillance drone का. यहाँ पे सब कुछ सही है, सब कुछ correctly matched है. Answer will be all 3, but don't attempt such questions if you do not have specific set of information. Okay, okay. Mythology ka knowledge can be used, right? And that's always a good thing. Attempt करने के बाद आपको लग सकता है कि मेरा logic ठीक था. और क्या बात है गलत हो जाए. सो उसको बोलते सर्वाइवरशिप बायस. मैंने बताया था ना सर्वाइवरशिप बायस जो है. सो वी शुड नॉट सफर फ्रॉम दैट सर्वाइवरशिप बायस कि वहाँ पे लग सकता है एक में काम कर गया, 3-4 जगह पे काम नहीं करेगा ये, एंड यू विल बी नेट नेगेटिव. ओके, ये ईरान is trying to overwhelm Israeli air defense system using what is called cluster warhead missile. What will be the answer? बहुत easy है, ये question attempt करना चाहिए. This is a understanding based question, not a factual based question. They release multiple submunitions, so interception is more effective before dispersal, right? So answer जो है वो B है यहाँ पे. So this is to overwhelm any air defense system, and Iranian air defense system is considered like some of the most sophisticated air defense systems they have. Okay, few questions from material science now, nanotechnology and material science. क्या होगा आंसर यहाँ पे? This is a difficult question. It's not an easy question. I wanted to talk about both of these nanomaterials, hence I have this question here. Graphene has exceptional electrical conductivity but lacks a natural band gap which limits its direct use as a semiconductor in transistor. That is correct. This is correct. Graphene is a fantastic, it's an amazing nanomaterial known for so many things. पहले तो एक 2-dimensional material है, single layer of carbon atom का बना हुआ है. I should have a slide on graphene. Carbon atoms into 2-dimensional arrangement, they make graphene. आप इसी graphene को fold करोगे तो आप carbon nanotube बना सकते हो, but that's a separate thing. So graphene has some remarkable property. 2-dimensional single layer of carbon atoms into this hexagonal structure. It's a very flexible material, but it's a very strong material. ये दोनों चीजें simultaneously true हैं. ये flexible है, जिसके कारण वी आर यूजिंग ग्राफीन इनटू दोज फोल्डेबल बेंडेबल डिस्प्ले. आपने देखा होगा ना फोन का जो फोल्डेबल बेंडेबल डिस्प्ले है, दैट यूजेस ग्राफीन. बट ये बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है, ये इट इज 200 टाइम्स मोर स्ट्रॉन्गर देन स्टील, बट इसका जो डेंसिटी है वो स्टील से 5 गुना कम है. सो ये एक दूसरा रिमार्केबल प्रॉपर्टी है. इट इज अ रिमार्केबल कंडक्टर ऑफ बोथ हीट एंड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, एंड इट इज ऑलमोस्ट ट्रांसपेरेंट, डज नॉट एब्जॉर्ब लाइट, एवरी लाइट ऑलमोस्ट goes through from graphene. So it's one of the most remarkable nanomaterial. But this is also true that because it is such a good conductor that no band gap exists. You need to have some sort of band gap for semiconductors to occur. जैसे silicon में there is a small band gap. And that is why जैसे मैंने आपको पिछले क्लास में बताया था कि silicon या semiconductor के केस में अगर आप टेम्परेचर बढ़ाओगे तो कंडक्टिविटी बढ़ जाएगा. कंडक्टर के केस में if I increase temperature देन रेजिस्टिविटी बढ़ेगा, कंडक्टिविटी कम होगा. सेमीकंडक्टर में एग्जैक्ट ऑपोजिट है. सेमीकंडक्टर इफ आई इंक्रीज द टेम्परेचर, बिकॉज देयर इज अ बैंड गैप, एज आई इंक्रीज द टेम्परेचर मोर एंड मोर इलेक्ट्रॉन्स विल क्रॉस दैट गैप एंड विल गो इनटू कंडक्शन जोन. ये ग्राफीन में नहीं है. सो ग्राफीन कैन नॉट बी यूज्ड इनटू ट्रांजिस्टर्स. बट अनदर रिमार्केबल नैनोमटेरियल ऑफ दिस केमिकल कॉल्ड molybdenum disulfide. This is very similar to graphene. As a molybdenum disulfide is a bulk material, it is used into lubrication and things like that. Ignore that. I'm not talking about molybdenum disulfide as a bulk material. But if you go to the nanoscale, if you look at the 2-dimensional version of molybdenum disulfide, then this is, in terms of structure, it is very similar to graphene. But because it has a band gap, it can be used into making transistors. Right? So दिखने में ये लगेगा ग्राफीन की तरह सिंगल लेयर ऑफ एक मॉलिब्डेनम 2 सल्फर है, एक बड़ा नाइस एक अरेंजमेंट है उसका एक 2 डायमेंशन में, बट बिकॉज ऑफ बैंड गैप दिस कैन बी मेज्ड इनटू ट्रांजिस्टर. So both are true, but second is not explanation of statement 1. Why graphene is a conductor? That is not explanation of the property of molybdenum disulfide. Answer here is B, not A. Anyone attempted it? Always a good idea to not attempt. क्या सॉरी ऑप्शन से अरे सॉरी ओके सॉरी दिस इज आई शुड हैव चेंज्ड इट. ये कल रात को मैं बना रहा था बैठ के so इसमें ये ज़्यादा तरीके, बट दिस शुड बी चेंज. ये स्टेटमेंट, ये 2 स्टेटमेंट का क्वेश्चन है, सर्सन रीजन का क्वेश्चन है. यहाँ पे आंसर बी होगा, जो एक स्टैंडर्ड ऑप्शन होता है, दैट बोथ आर करेक्ट एंड स्टेटमेंट 2 इज नॉट द करेक्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ स्टेटमेंट 1. ये ठीक है, यहाँ पे 3 स्टेटमेंट है. Superconductors are of great scientific and practical interest because of unique physical properties. That is true, of course. Below a critical temperature, superconductors exhibit zero electrical resistance. That is one of that property. They completely expel magnetic field from inside called Meissner effect. That is another of that property. So both are true, and also the explanation of statement 1. Answer here is A. Read more about superconductivity. Read about some of the popular superconductors which we should know about. Jaise things like lead or mercury, they become superconductor at some minus 265 degrees Celsius. But if you look at some other materials like YbCO, yttrium, barium, copper oxide, or you have materials like HgI, they can become superconductor at about minus 150, 180 degrees Celsius. So that it still is a very low temperature phenomena, but minus 150 is better than minus 270. Okay, and both of this is the reason why superconductors are a big deal. So answer here is A. So read about applications of superconductor apart from that, and also go and read about that Nobel Prize in Physics जो मैं अभी थोड़ी देर पहले बात कर रहा था. That was also given for quantum tunneling, but that quantum tunneling was done with help of superconductor. I will discuss 2 more questions because I have a class at 2 also, and I have to have lunch, right? So conservation of energy. So I will discuss 2, but the remaining questions here and the last paper and the last discussion, we'll do that tomorrow. We have a session tomorrow also, so we'll do that tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll focus upon, we only have to now discuss last 2 topics. We'll discuss biotechnology and health, and we'll discuss environmental technologies. So for example, we'll have an overview of air pollution control technologies or water pollution control technologies or climate change mitigation technologies. ये सारी चीज़ें हम एक साथ discuss करेंगे along with biotechnology and health. So these are the only 2 topics which are left in our discussion. So let me discuss this last question and remaining questions, and the next paper we will do this tomorrow. So consider the following statements about particles and antiparticles. Every fundamental particle has a corresponding antiparticle with same mass. This is true. There are so many things we do not know about nature. For example, we do know that from pure energy we can create particles and antiparticles, but in equal amount. But we do not find any antiparticle in large amount somewhere in the universe. So anyways, first is true. When a particle and antiparticle collide, they make a stable pair of molecule. Not at all. They annihilate. They completely destroy each other and they convert into pure energy. But the opposite is also true. From pure energy we can create a pair of particle and antiparticle. And ये antiparticle concept का जो सबसे famous application है, जो सबसे practical application है, जो सारे के top hospitals में या diagnostic चीज़ों में मिल जाएगा, वो है PET scan. PET scan का जो full form है, that is positron electron tomography. So positron is an antiparticle of electron. It has the exact same mass as electron, but opposite charge. So electron is a negatively charged particle, positron is a positively charged particle. Positron, thankfully, even though it is an antiparticle of electron, it is a result of lot of radioactive reaction. So ये देखो ये कैसे काम करता है, ये doctors इसको कैसे use करेंगे, that when you go for PET scan, a small radioactive substance will be injected in your bloodstream, and that substance is going to start producing positron. You'll have to wait for a few hours so that it spreads throughout your blood circulation system. And then when this positron, because we are filled with electrons, we are filled with particles, so positrons will very soon find electrons and they will annihilate and they will produce gamma radiation. And now that gamma radiation ka jo interaction hai with your healthy cells and cancerous cells, that can be recorded on a computer screen. So this is a very powerful mechanism for disease diagnosis, which is called PET scan. So PET scan uses the energy released by particle-antiparticle interaction. And here I repeat, this particle and antiparticle is positron and electron. So first and third are true, that second is not true, they both annihilate each other. Answer here is 1 and 3 only. Okay? Rest of the questions along with that last paper, we will discuss that tomorrow. Okay? And the last 2 topics we will discuss. I am also going to get this uploaded. If you want to like come better prepared for tomorrow's session, then I am also going to get this like important themes uploaded, which should be there somewhere. I will ask the team to get those like themes which I consider important to be uploaded, and you can like be better prepared for that last session we'll have tomorrow. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
The issue with most UPSC aspirants is not effort, it is foundation. A strong foundation means 3 things. Learn in the right sequence so subjects reinforce each other. Apply early through answer writing and testing. Correct continuously through proper diagnosis and feedback. This is what the GS Foundation course at Vision IAS is built around. Connected GS coverage, not isolated subjects. Early writing and testing, not last-minute panic. Diagnostic test analysis with clear corrective steps. Current affairs organized into usable themes for prelims and mains. Regular mentorship to prevent drift. Effort is common, structure is rare. If you are serious about UPSC, start by getting the foundation right. Upcoming classroom batches: Karol Bagh 9 March 11 am, 13 March 8 am and 24th March 5 pm. And GTB Nagar batches for English 17 March 8 am, 25 March 6 pm. And for Hindi, 16 March 11 am. For more details, visit our website or call us on the given numbers.
यूपीएससी 2027 का लक्ष्य जितना बड़ा है उसे पाने की योजना भी उतनी ही स्पष्ट और संगठित होनी चाहिए। विजन आईएएस लेकर आया है क्लासरूम फाउंडेशन कोर्स 2027 के 12 से 14 महीनों का एक ऐसा सुव्यवस्थित कार्यक्रम है जहां आपकी तैयारी एक अनुशासित और वैज्ञानिक ढांचे में आगे बढ़ती है। यहाँ क्लासरूम लर्निंग के साथ साथ आपको मिलता है लाइव और रिकॉर्डेड सेशंस का विकल्प, जिसे आप अपने व्यक्तिगत ऑनलाइन पोर्टल के माध्यम से कभी भी और कहीं भी एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। तैयारी के सफर को और भी प्रभावी बनाती है हमारी व्यक्तिगत क्लासरूम मेंटरिंग। हमारे एक्सपर्ट मेंटर्स नियमित मार्गदर्शन और स्मार्ट स्टडी मैनेजमेंट के जरिए आपकी तैयारी को एक सही दिशा और गति प्रदान करते हैं। शैक्षणिक दृष्टिकोण से देखें तो ये कोर्स मुख्य परीक्षा के सामान्य अध्ययन के 4 प्रश्न पत्रों, सीसेट और निबंध का व्यापक कवरेज सुनिश्चित करता है। विषयों की समसामयिक समझ विकसित करने के लिए मासिक करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन और रिवीजन क्लासेस के साथ साथ पीटी 365 और मेंस 365 की विशेष कक्षाएं भी इस कार्यक्रम का अनिवार्य हिस्सा हैं, ताकि स्टैटिक और करंट अफेयर्स के बीच एक सटीक संतुलन बना रहे। तैयारी की गहराई मापने के लिए निरंतर अभ्यास अनिवार्य है, इसलिए डेली असाइनमेंट्स और साप्ताहिक मिनी टेस्ट के साथ साथ मासिक प्रीलिम्स और मेंस टेस्ट के माध्यम से आपकी प्रगति का निरंतर आकलन किया जाता है। इस कार्यक्रम की शक्ति है हमारी प्रतिष्ठित ऑल इंडिया टेस्ट सीरीज, जिसमें प्रीलिम्स के 35, मेंस के 30, सीसेट के 25 और निबंध के 5 टेस्ट का समावेश है। साथ ही संधान पोर्टल पर 25,000 से अधिक प्रश्नों का विशाल संग्रह आपके अभ्यास और विश्लेषण को और भी सुदृढ़ बनाता है। अब समय है अपनी मेहनत को एक मजबूत, संरचित और निरंतर प्रक्रिया में ढालने का। विजन आईएएस के साथ जुड़े और यूपीएससी 2027 की अपनी सफलता की राह को एक स्पष्ट दिशा दें।
Prelims is in 3 months. This is where preparation shifts, not from studying to stopping, but from expanding to consolidating. At this stage, what matters most is strengthening core areas, fixing weak zones, analyzing mistakes deeply, stabilizing mock scores, refining your attempt strategy. That is exactly where the Lakshya Prelims Mentoring Program plays a decisive role, offering structured direction, performance correction, and continuous guidance when execution matters the most. Starting from 23rd February, Lakshya supports this critical phase with a focused revision roadmap, personalized tests and competitive quizzes, 25,000 plus curated Sandhan questions, data-driven performance analytics, mentor guidance till the exam. Lakshya is not about studying more, it's about executing better with expert guidance. To know more or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. you ready to face prelims head on? Because prelims is not just about knowledge, it's about performance under pressure. That's where Abhyas, the All India Prelims, GS plus CSAT mock test comes in. Designed as a true exam simulation, Abhyas recreates the real UPSC. Prelims experience the same pattern, the same time constraints, and the same intensity. It places you in a national arena, competing with aspirants across India, backed by an all-India ranking that reveals your true standing. Attempted by 1 in 3 top 50 rankers, Abhyas has become a trusted benchmark for serious aspirants. With detailed post-test analysis, live discussions, and complete syllabus coverage in both English and Hindi, it ensures your preparation is not just extensive but exam-ready. 3 full-length offline simulations will be conducted across 100+ cities on 5th April, 19th April, and 10th May. From 9:30 am to 11:30 am for General Studies, that is paper 1, and 2:30 pm to 4:30 pm for CSAT, that's paper 2. Challenge your preparation, test your performance. For more information or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers.
All serious aspirants are able to solve polity, economy and geography questions in the prelims. But when it comes to ancient and medieval history and art and culture, everyone stands on the same platform. Whether you are a fresher or a repeater, attempts don't matter here. Most aspirants end up guessing answers, relying on vague recall and finally getting stuck in a dicey zone near the cutoff. And it is exactly here where margins matter, that marks are lost or gained. To create a clear edge over the cutoff, Vision IAS Prelims Speed Up is for you. The real challenge with history and culture is not effort but direction. Multiple sources, overlapping facts, confusing timelines and factual overload make these subjects risky. UPSC further complicates things by framing indirect elimination-based questions where partial knowledge often backfires. As a result, even well-prepared aspirants hesitate at crucial moments. Prelims Speed Up is designed as a 20-day last-mile score booster to solve this exact problem. Instead of broad coverage, the program focuses only on high-yield areas that UPSC repeatedly asks in ancient history, medieval history, and art and culture. The emphasis is on conceptual clarity, chronology, and intelligent linkage, so facts finally start making sense together. With concept-driven classes, the course tells you what to remember, what to ignore, and how to apply. Structured daily practice and tests train your mind for elimination, helping you avoid traps and guess less. The Smart Source consolidated content removes the burden of multiple books and speeds up the revision. In just 20 focus classes for ancient and medieval history and art and culture, Prelims Speed Up converts static confusion into scoring confidence. If you want to move from cutoff anxiety to cutoff safety in Prelims 2026, this program gives you that decisive edge. Join today to get this edge.